Hey guys, what's going on? David H here, making another video with the crickets chirping in the background. What a perfect environment for talking about setbacks. I just got done working out, so I'm in my workout clothes here. And two obsessions I have you should know about me are these military style caps and Adidas Sambas. Love them. Anyways, setbacks. I've been wanting to make a video about setbacks for a while, but I haven't done it because it wasn't time. And now I know why it was time, because I had a setback myself this weekend. A setback with therapy against social anxiety, which is cognitive behavioral therapy is what I've been using. And the Overcoming Social Anxiety step-by-step program. Okay. I'm also working on talking into the camera because I've been watching myself in the video, so hopefully I'll do that well this time. Okay, so setbacks. First of all, let's talk about what is a setback. So a setback is basically kind of your mind pulling back to the old pathological way of thinking that creates social anxiety. So scientists have shown that when they do an MRI, I think it's an MRI brain scan, I don't know how they do the brain scans, maybe it's CAT scan or MRI, that when people think and feel certain ways, certain parts of their brain light up. Look at the camera. Certain parts of their brain light up. So when somebody's feeling happy, a certain part of the brain lights up. When they're feeling depressed or sad or angry or another one, see, I'm listing all these negative ones. Like peaceful, that's another one. Their brain lights up in a certain way. Okay. So what that means is that there's a certain pattern there because it lights up in a certain pattern and it hits that pattern more or less every time. And so what happens when you go through therapy, you start to learn your new pattern of thinking. So you have your old pattern that lights up a certain way, and then you have your new pattern, and it's starting to take shape because you're learning new ways of thinking, new thoughts and new feelings. So if you have social anxiety, you'll experience fear of judgment, a fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of public speaking, and then you'll have physical manifestations that all come from those emotional states and those thought patterns, right? But as you start to see that, no, the world is okay, like people aren't out to get you, they're really minding their own business, that people want to connect and talk with you. Excuse me, got an itch. There's mosquitoes out here. Itch my leg. People want to connect with you and talk with you. Some don't. Probably the ones that have social anxiety like we have had, are afraid to. But you go out and you find that people really are social. And that's how we've gotten this far as human beings, is that we are social. Those with social anxiety have just kind of struggled and suffered along. So what happens is you have this new pattern taking over, and it starts out kind of small, and you have your big ol' social anxiety pattern. And as you do the therapy, they start to shrink, but once in a while, this one kind of goes back and this shrinks a little more. It's not always just this one's growing and this one's shrinking. It's, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 1 step forward, 1 step back. 3 steps forward, 1 step back. So when that happens, it's almost like this pattern didn't exist anymore, but it's still there. It's just this one is more powerful. This social anxiety pattern is more powerful. And when you have a setback, in some ways it feels worse because you think that you did all this work and then you lost it all, which isn't true, but you feel like it. So then you really can start to beat up on yourself and put pressure on yourself, look in the camera, to get better and to get through it. And why is this happening? It's totally normal and natural to have that setback, to have that feeling that you lost it all, that it was all for nothing. It wasn't all for nothing, because here's the key concept. A setback means you're actually making progress. It's the old pattern, over here, the old pattern fighting to stay alive, and the automatic negative thoughts fighting to stay alive, but this one is like really coming in here and attacking it, so that your new socially expressive pattern, I'm going to call it, just like my site, socialexpression.net. That's what we're going for, social expression. Your socially expressive pattern is really taking over. So what is it like? That's what it's like. It feels like, it's kind of a despairing feeling. And some really negative, dark thoughts will come in about you, about other people, like I had about myself and other people and people that have been trying to help me. So how did it happen? Well, this weekend I went out Thursday. And I went out with a friend on Thursday, and I was starting conversations left and right. I was having an awesome time connecting with people, even when sometimes people gave me bad reactions because and I didn't even do anything. I was just being fun and playful and saying stuff. It didn't affect me. And I even saw a couple times where women were being rude to me. But the reason they were doing it was because they were anxious and nervous, because then after I talked to them, and my friend that I was with was female, by the way, so after they talked to me, I saw them looking at me in the corner of their eye or across the room, and even though they gave me a cold response or maybe a sassy response, and it was whatever, it didn't matter, and I had a great time, and I was just speaking my mind that night and talking about whatever. It was really, really fun. I had a good time with my friend too. So that was a good night, but then come Friday I went out. And I was feeling a little anxious before I went out, had some anticipatory anxiety. We all know about that. Having anxiety about having anxiety when we're out, knowing that we are probably going to have it. And I got out to the bar, and it was kind of dead, and I was just taking, not connecting with people so well, and taking that as I was doing something wrong, and I wasn't in the vibe. And yeah, I wasn't in the vibe, but I was beating myself up for it. So then I left that bar, I went to another one, tried to shake it off. And it wasn't much better over there either. Although I did talk to people, and some women were talking to me, talked with a couple guys. But I was just in kind of a down state that I was having a hard time connecting with anybody. Then I went on to another place and actually had a really fun time at that place. And 2 people bought me shots just by me hanging out and socializing. And by this point, I was getting pretty drunk, so that's not good overall, because I was in a bad state and kind of feeling on that depressive tip. And then after that, I went into another bar and kind of just stood there because I didn't want to drink anymore, and I just wasn't feeling on. So I made it home safe. I got home safe, and I kind of waited till I sobered up a bit and drank some water and whatever. And then the next day is when the setback really hit in. I was beating up on myself. Actually, that night when I got home, I was like, fuck this. This stuff sucks. This isn't working. And I was just being so irrational. And irrational is how we get with social anxiety or many anxiety disorders and depressive disorders. We're not thinking clearly. We're thinking down on ourselves. We're thinking down on others. And it took me all day and yesterday. And I wanted to go out last night, kind of, but I really couldn't make it out. I had more anticipatory anxiety because I had the setback, and I was still in the setback. So I chilled out. I did my therapy. And then today I really took it easy, and I laid out in the sun, and I worked on a lot of therapy stuff and some affirmation stuff, which I'll talk about later, which is a different piece than just the cognitive behavioral therapy. And I exercised, and I played music and songs. And now tonight I'm pumped to go out because I'm going out to an open mic where I know people, and I'm going to have fun and get ready to go and play next week. Anyways. So I'm pretty much through the setback here. But what should you do to get through the setback? I think there's 2 key things, possibly 3. So the first key thing is to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and not judge it or push it away. Okay? This very much comes from Buddhism, and it comes from a lot of being present type of practices. You've got to allow yourself to feel it. At the same time, you need to pay attention to the thoughts that are perpetuating the state. Don't try to push the emotion away, because you really can't. It's really difficult to push the emotion away. It's already in there. However, you can watch the thoughts, track how they're irrational, and put an irrational thought in place, or just stop the irrational thoughts altogether. This sucks, I haven't made any progress. The main thought you should think is, I'm in a setback, and this is a sign of progress. This is good. Even though I feel despair and that I should give up on my social anxiety therapy right now, I'm having a setback, and that actually is a sign of progress. These negative feelings are just the old pathway trying to survive, and the setback is evidence that it's not surviving, it's dying. Okay? That's a really key concept to get, number one. Number two is to do your therapy. Do your homework, your CBT homework, your cognitive behavioral therapy homework. If you have affirmations to do, you can do those as well. But really do your cognitive behavioral therapy homework. Whether you're using the Overcoming Social Anxiety Step-by-Step program or you're working with a cognitive behavioral therapist, what you should absolutely be doing if you have social anxiety. It is not my recommendation that you only take drugs or medication. Okay? If you only take medication, that is not going to overall be as durable or help you in the long run. You need to do therapy with your medication. Okay? That's my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor. Take that with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty adamant about people taking responsibility and not just going for the pill. That's a McDonald's culture, McDonald's society. Quick fix, quick meal, okay? It doesn't work like that. Once you learn the skill of being patient, taking responsibility to change your own thoughts, it's going to change your life in ways you can't imagine. And it's going to apply to other areas of your life, like business and love and relationships, not just your social anxiety. Believe me, okay? And the third thing is to do some kind of physical exercise, get some sun, do something to get into your body, okay? Get in your body. It's very well documented and proven that physical exercise helps you feel better. The runner's high. If you want to lift weights, if you want to do your sport, do that. But it's key to do your therapy. Go get a massage. Go sit in the steam room, the sauna, whatever it is that's going to make you feel better physically. Okay, so the three key things. So here's everything we went through in the video. Went through what are setbacks, why they happen with the neural pathways, what it's like to have a setback, my experience of having a setback, and what you should do to get through it. The most important thing is what you should do to get through it. Realize that having a setback is good. It's part of progressing. Allow yourself to feel it and have the setback. Try not to beat up on yourself, but if you're going to beat up on yourself, hey, you're going to. Don't beat up on yourself for beating up on yourself. Okay? 2, do your therapy. Do your therapy. And 3, try to get some exercise. Try to work it out. And you'll feel better sooner than later. Okay, guys, that was my video on setbacks. Keep up the work. You can beat social anxiety just like I'm beating it. Have made a lot of progress. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave comments here on the video, on my channel, or on my site. If you get to it, I'm starting to post and blog, socialexpression.net. My goal is to not only help people overcome social anxiety or social problems, but to get it to a place where they are free and comfortable and really enjoy it, and it's an expression and part of their lives. So I'd love to hear from you guys, and take care till next time.